Hello, thank you all for joining the webinar today on troubleshooting best practices with CloudWatch logging. I am Abita Bala. I am a senior product manager with CloudWatch. I have with me Joe, who's a senior GTM, and he'll be doing the demo. Towards the end, we have Michael as well, who's a senior GTM, BD, Ganesh, and Ravi Teja. Moving on to the agenda for today. So we will be doing the introduction for what is CloudWatch, and we'll do the overview of recent launches. We'll finally end with the demo and do a live Q&A. Moving on, CloudWatch, what is it? So CloudWatch is the AWS native tool for observability and monitoring. It has a full observability suite when you talk about logs, metrics, alarms, dashboards, and you want to be able to analyze with, say, Lambda insights, contributor insights, logs insights. It provides a lot of tools. It has the full observability suite, and it is designed for scale. So CloudWatch has significantly evolved from the time we launched. In 2014 is when we launched CloudWatch Log, and then some of the key features that we have launched over the years, say in 2015, subscription filter. I'm not going to go over each of the specific launches line by line, but this gives you an idea of the scale at which we have launched over a period of time. Clearly, as you can see, CloudWatch has evolved a lot. Some of the key launches that we have had in 2023 was LiveTail for logs. We introduced data protection to be able to protect sensitive data. We introduced a low-cost log ingestion tier, which is the infrequent access log class. We introduced a log pattern analysis and log anomaly detection, and then the natural language query gen. So when you go to logs insights and you type what you want to query in natural language, it generates the query for you, which we will cover in the demo. But moving on in 2024, some of the key launches that we have had, again, we have a dedicated slide just for recap, but some of the critical ones, as you can see, called out are field indexes, log transformation. There's a whole big list of launches that we have had with the new log source of Bedrock CloudFront, the LiveTrail with streaming CLI and Lambda native. And we also have the Amazon Q Developer operational investigation, which was in preview, but now it's in GA. Moving on, AWS native observability. We have the recap. If we were to bucketize them into themes, we have three big themes that we launched in. The first, which is the home of telemetry, the unified navigation to make the discovery and navigation across related telemetry much easier. We launched resource-based telemetry correlation and single-click navigation in CloudWatch. We also launched the field indexes and log transformation to enhance the log analytics capabilities to be more performant, powerful, and cost effective. We also introduced the expanded log group selection to query up to 10K log groups at a time. We also introduced the field indexes to query for common attributes such as request ID, transaction ID. With log transformation, you can add consistent and standard structure to any log JSON key value pair within CloudWatch, making it incredibly easy to query and alarm across log sources, regardless of the original log structure. In the Open Search Analytics in CloudWatch theme, we now have the seamless one-click Open Search custom analytics on CloudWatch logs without data export or changing existing collection and storage. This gives customers the ability to query logs in both logs insights and open search dashboards. It also eliminates the need for complex ETL, extract, transform, load kind of operations. In the theme of curated observability experience, we launched Database Insights. This provides a single pane of glass, detailed visibility into the performance of your Aurora databases. We also introduced Span Analytics. So this provides deeper insights into app transactions using Span Analytics experience within CloudWatch. This provides platform fine-grained customer analytics across their transactions. So you can dive into interactions between various application components and uncover broader trends in specific type of interactions. We also launched the container insights with enhanced observability. So last year we launched for EKS, and this year for ECS. This reduces your mean time to detect and mean time to repair for your overall applications. That helps prevent issues that could negatively impact your user experience. With Network Flow Monitor, we introduced the network performance monitoring for AWS workloads using Flow Monitor. This provides near real-time visibility of network performance for workloads between compute instances such as Amazon EC2, EKS, AWS services such as Amazon S3, RDS, Amazon DynamoDB. The theme of AI Ops, we had two major launches. One is the AI powered natural language query generation. So we went GA of the natural language where you can quickly generate queries in the context of your logs and metrics data using plain language. This simplifies the query generation process and accelerates your insights gathering from observability data without knowing the need to query extensively with the query language. And also, we launched the Amazon Q developer operational investigations, where you can accelerate your operational investigation across your AWS environment. So, this looks for anomalies in your environment and it surfaces related signals for you to explore, identifies potential root cause hypothesis, and suggests next steps to help you remediate issues faster. You can also configure Amazon Q to automatically investigate when a CloudWatch alarm is triggered. Moving on, um, so one of the launches that we covered in the previous slide, which I'll be diving deeper with this, is the zero ETL with CloudWatch logs. As we transform how to monitor and troubleshoot your database fleet, um, we now moved on to the next launch, which is the zero ETL with Amazon CloudWatch log. So this helps with the integration between CloudWatch logs and open search service analytics. So you can have out of the box curated dashboards in CloudWatch for popular vendor log sources. This provides zero ETL to access CloudWatch data from open source. We introduced two additional query languages, which makes it very easy for you to query because of the familiarity, which is the Open Search Pipe Processing Language and Open Search SQL. So now when you go to Logs Insights, you should have three options to select from, the Logs Insights QL, and then you have the PPL and SQL. Moving on with the enhanced log analytics, you have simpler and faster insights at scale. So you have faster queries at lower cost with field index, and query across broader sets of log group with enhanced log group selection. You can transform your logs into standardized structured log format. So we introduce log transformation and enrichment with field indexing capabilities. With this particular feature, you can transform, enrich, analyze. In transform, you have logs coming in with different structures, so you can apply consistent structure, JSON and schema. It You can use it on pre-built templates, especially if you have logs coming in from other AWS sources like WAF, VPC, Apache, Nginx. You will be able to have pre-built templates for transformation. You can also apply custom transformations with Grok, split trim. With Enrich, you can add context, account info, log group, log stream region, and you can analyze. You can use these transform logs and set up field indexes, or you can set up discovered fields. It also helps in your alarming use case where you have flexible metric extraction. So you can alarm, set up dashboards. You can also forward with subscription filters. Now we have LiveTail. As you can see, it's real-time log monitoring and investigation. So it's now do it as you code. So you can quickly identify and troubleshoot issues. We also have the pattern and compare. CloudWatch Logs Insights uses machine learning algorithms to find patterns when you query your logs. The pattern is a shared text structure that recurs among your log fields. When you view the results of a query, you can choose the pattern tab to see the pattern that CloudWatch logs found based on the sample of your results. You can also append the pattern command to your query to analyze the patterns in the entire set of matching log events. They are very helpful for analyzing large log sets because a large number of log events can be compressed into a few patterns, as you can see here. So to the left, you have thousands of log lines of handful patterns, and then what's changed. You can see how the pattern helps. With anomaly detection, you can proactively identify potential issues in your logs. You can use it as a starting point or way to rule things out fast. So with log anomalies, you can see what anomalies are there. You can view the priority, understand the log pattern that caused it with the trend. You can also create alarms from anomaly detection for faster detection. Some of the common challenges with log queries are, hey, I want to be able to search across all my logs. So currently, before this launch, we had a 50 log group limit. You could only individually select the logs, and these limits apply in cross account as well. When you need faster results when querying large data sets, we have a 60-minute timeout, and you want to reduce your querying costs with inadvertent large scans, and you have a needle in the haystack where you're trying to figure out something, or you have frequent and repetitive queries. Like, how do you mitigate or limit your expensive queries? So we launched the field indexing and enhanced log group selection, which is what I had described earlier, but with this, you have an enhanced log group selection where you can select up to 10K log groups, or you can search by prefixes or all, and you can apply these in cross account as well. With field indexes, you have 20 fields per policy, and the index data lasts for 30 days. So you can do keys equal to value or key in value. We have also introduced a filter index command, which you can use to query on index data only. It auto selects index log groups. So with field index enhanced log group selection, it's much simpler, faster, and cost effective, and it's available at no additional cost. It's already included in your standard log class selection. Moving on to the CloudWatch logs infrequent access. So this is a capability we have where customers now have the ability to um, decide between the two log classes. You can now use standard or infrequent access based on what features you intend to use with these logs after you ingest them. So some use cases require advanced capabilities like LiveTailing, versus some where you just need to ingest, store, and query on the logs for after the fact analysis. Now you have the ability to pick between standard or infrequent access, while majority of your use cases would involve your ops where you might need standard log classes. There are some that might only be required for core logging. So this new log class enables customers to make effective cost feature trade-offs. For instance, with your CloudWatch logs infrequent access, as described earlier, you have the ability to have fully managed ingestion storage. You can use it with cross account. You have the encryption capability, and you can query in logs insights. In terms of ingestion, infrequent access is 50% cheaper. Moving on, these are some of the key capabilities that I've covered, but let me quickly pause here for the QR codes for some of the key launches that we have. Now over to Joe for the demo. Thank you.
Can you confirm that you see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Awesome. Excellent. Well, I guess little brief introduction for me. Hi, everyone. My name is Joe Alioto. I am a senior cloud ops specialist solutions architect here at AWS. And we're going to run through a demo of a lot of the features and functionalities that Abitha just talked about. So to get into start, I am in my demo account here. I'm going to go ahead and go into CloudWatch. And the first thing that we are going to dive into is doing some log insights queries. So we have a lot of different features and functionality here, right? So from AI operations to logs, metrics, a lot of other things. We're going to focus a lot on logs here today. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to log insights, and we're just going to run some queries against some logs and kind of introduce you to what this looks like. So I have my CloudTrail logs that are being ingested into this account. And I'm going to just go ahead and actually, before I do that, I'm going to do this with part of the insights. I'm going to change this to 2 days. I want to see what's been going on in CloudTrail for the past 2 days and start getting some of that data. So this is going to just take a few seconds to pull in a couple days worth of data on what's going on in CloudTrail. All right, so that completed. This is just a generic query. You can kind of get an idea of what's in here. You can view like the message. This is the output from CloudTrail, as well as some additional fields because it's a structured log that we could then begin to query on. Okay, so one of the things that's really nice, so when we want to create a query, maybe we don't know what fields are fully available to us. Well, we have this discovered fields section. And within here, we list all of the fields that are available as a part of this log group that we can query, right? So we can start to build queries based off of the fields that are available to us. Additionally, what we'll look at in a second is we can also identify which one of these fields are actually indexed. Okay, so let's do a similar type of query, but let's focus on just the index fields. We want to build something. So I'm going to go ahead and select fields. Whoops. Fields, and we also have IntelliSense for all of these fields and the functionality that's in CloudWatch Log Insights. And so I am going to create something with event time because I wanted to know when did it occur. And then event source, what was the source of the event in CloudTrail, right? Event type, understanding what the event type is. There we go. Source, oops, lowercase. Source IP address, that would also be important. And then I also want to know what type of user identity it was. Right? And these are fields that you can identify in here as well as using IntelliSense. And so if I run this, I can run this and we're going to use the fields that we had indexed to pull just the specific information we want. And so now we can take those logs that we had before, a very long structured log, and get only the fields that we want to see in the query results. All right, so now we can have a better idea of what's being done. But let's kind of filter that a bit further. Let's take a look at all the Amazon S3 event sources and see where those are coming from. Okay, so I'm going to filter by event source where it equals that Amazon S3. All right, and something you'll notice is that query ran a lot faster. Yes, we're filtering the data, but we also have those index fields, right? We were able to query the 730 megs of logs and get the results from that, the 52,000 results, and display the 10,000 from that in just under 6 seconds. You can see that those are powered by the field indexes. And then additionally, now we're just looking at the data that we need to. But let's say, I need some further insights. Like, this is cool. I can see that there's a lot of S3 coming in. I need to understand a bit better about some other patterns that we have going on. So I'm not great. I'm not an expert when it comes to building queries. I can do it. I'm a little familiar with it, but I like to use our natural language query generation to make it a bit easier. Like, anyone can kind of do this. It makes me a bit better, more of an expert. So I want to, let's do this. Create a query. Whoops. Query that lists the API action and count of how many times it's in the log. What else do I want to do? Okay, and then sort the results from most to least. And so I'm going to use that to generate a query because I'm not exactly sure what that context would be for the query. And let's see what we get. All right, so it gave me one. I'm going to go ahead and run that query, see what we get. And so now I can see it's the past 2 days, but if I look at the different events, I can see the different event types from CloudTrail and the count of how many times that API call was made. And so maybe you've seen an influx and you wanted to kind of identify that, you could do that. Additionally, it's just an easier way to query these. So I'm going to do the same thing now with some of our zero ETL integrations with OpenSearch, PPL, and SQL. Just for time, what I've done is I've saved those queries here. And so I have these OpenSearch queries, and it's the same thing, but using the pipe processing language. So if you were familiar with PPL because you have been running in OpenSearch, this is a way you can utilize similar types of queries. Close this out. Let's go ahead and run that query. All right, so we were able to get that data. Okay, we can see that it's here, and we have a similar type of output, right? We have the event name this time, the event source, and the count. One extra field. All right, so let's do this. Let's take a look at it the same way in SQL and what that looks like. So you'll see now we have the SQL query. It pulls the same type of information. One thing you will notice here is from the from, I'm pointing to the log, the actual ARN of the log group. And that's because this is my monitoring account and I have cross-account access to another account. And because of that, I need to provide the full ARN that's listed here. Later on, I'm going to show you how we can pull logs from a different account as well and query them from this one location. All right. So we were able to get the same type of data here as well. See, so it's if you're more familiar with SQL and that's a little bit easier for you to develop, it's easier to query the logs that way. That way you don't have to necessarily learn the log insights. Another thing that I wanted to show you is some enhanced functionality. So with PPL and SQL, there's enhanced functionality that you can run that kind of differentiates it. So one example is we're doing a join on logs. Let's say you need to do some enhanced analytics, right? And you need to get data and perform joins from one log group to another. What this is going to do is this is going to look at this pet adoption service that I have and these pet list adoptions, where it's going to grab the timestamp, pet ID, pet type, color, pet type, and color, and then we're going to look for when someone's purchased a pet, right, and grab their full name and address. These are all made up. This is not real data. And then we're going to go ahead and perform that. And so we're doing some advanced analytics, doing joins on 2 different log groups to bring that data together. And so this is going to run. Oh, let me actually cancel this. I realize this. Let me change this back to an hour and we're going to run it again. Probably don't want to run that on 2 days. It would take just a little bit longer for the purposes of the demo, trying to shrink that down so we're not analyzing as much data. All right, and so as you can see, we were able to grab the first 4 fields like we showed up here from the pet list adoptions and join those on the pet ID from that is also in the pay for adoption to get the full name and address. So this way you can utilize SQL and PPL for some advanced analytics from your logs that we didn't have previously. Let's move into the log transformation. So let's take a look at that. I'm going to go back to log groups. Okay. And then from here, what we have is I have some Apache access logs. As Beatha mentioned previously, we have some templates for Grok as an example, which is what we're going to look at today, that perform those transformations just very simply. We have documentation that points to all of the different built-in transformations, but because this is a standard log type, we can very easily perform the match or build additional advanced matching patterns just based on what you can do with Grok. We also have configurable parsers that are JSON or CSV or key value, and then we'll look at some of these other ones as well in a little bit. From there, when I have my match, we can also add additional processors to enrich the logs. Beatha mentioned this previously, right? So we have these add keys, delete keys, rename, move, and what I'm using here is copy value. And what copy value allows you to do, which maybe you can see it's a little dark, but you can enrich your logs with account ID, region, log group name, or log group stream just very easily. All you have to do is define that key and then give it a name that you want to see in the logs. So from there, what we can do is at the log group, we can load a sample log that looks like this. And I just have, this is just a generic sample log where I was generating some load. And then I can test this transformation. And so what we can see is with what I have configured here, we've just changed this unstructured log that's just like a single line of text into a structured JSON log that's key value pairs for each of these, along with the account ID and region that we defined down here. We have added those to this. Okay, so let's take a look at actually like querying this data from the logs. So I'm going to go back to log insights. Right, I'm gonna minimize this for now so we have some more space to work in, and we'll close that too. I'm gonna go to access log. So I have my web access log here. We're at 1 hour, and I'm gonna go ahead and just run the default query, and we'll take a look at what we have for the transforming. So we have the output from here. We have the original message, which was that single line of text. And then we have the fields that we generated, the account ID, the agent, the method. These are all of the structured logs that we had. And then the original log data is here as well. So now let's run a query against this, right? Let's get some actual information and see what we want to do. I saved a query just to make this a bit quicker, just due to time. And so now let's take a look of a count of like status codes that are occurring. Okay, so I have this. So instead of because we've created structured logs and we have the fields that are associated that we can query based on how the Grok parsed it and transform it for us, we can now query on that specific data instead of the string of text based on the keys that exist. And we can see down here, we have like a 200 status code coming from this remote host for this many counts and different unique URLs and agents. So that's great. We get a little bit of insight, but I want to know a little bit more about what's going on. So if we come back to transform logs, let's get a list of requests and status code by method and remote host. So we can see which remote host is calling. I have it up here, same type of thing. I built this out. I actually used the query generator to build this out. It did a really good job. Okay. So we were able to query that, and now I can see the requests going to the specific paths, the different status codes we're getting, and the different requests for those. So you may get like if you had a request that some customers are experiencing that they're not able to perform specific actions or submit specific information for like updating their profile. If they were trying to do a put and they're getting a 405, maybe something changed in your application to where they're not able to actually update their profile. And you could identify that here. Okay. So from there, let's move on to the pattern analysis. So for this one specifically, I have another saved query just for the nature of time under here. And for this one, we're going to look at multiple logs. So I have this pet adoption service, and these are some common logs that are outputted for it. So we have some traffic generation. We have the specific pet list adoptions we saw before, pay for adoptions, and then some pet search. So I'm going to run just a generic query here. And it's going to start exporting all the logs. So it exported the logs for the past hour for those. But now I'm going to want to take a look at some patterns because something's been going on. There have been some errors. People are experiencing issues like uploading files. And we want to understand why or what's going on. And so now I can look through all of those logs that it outputted before. But if we look at this, right, there's about 12,000 records matched. But if I look at patterns, now we have 8 patterns from those 12,000 logs, right? And so I'm going to start like taking a look at these. I see this is info, probably not that none. We have some error logs. Let's take a look at the error logs. So I see that there's something that looks like create buckets having issues. All right. So, and these are, it's about, 15 events, 1%, but these are errors related to S3. So maybe it has to do with that. Let's inspect this pattern and see what we can find. So we have the pattern up here. We have some results of when this, when this started to occur. So look, this started to occur maybe like, where are we now? Maybe about 15 or not 15, maybe like 10 minutes ago, right? And so from here, you can take a look at some log samples. This might not be as beneficial, but it can give you some idea of, which logs these are in, what they come from. Token values. This is where I find a lot of value with the pattern matching. So as you notice up here, we have various different tokens of, specific text that's changing, right? And then the other ones that aren't. So down under this tokens, there's a lot of tokens. These are all the fields that change. I can kind of see that they're here. Like from this view, it doesn't necessarily connect it for me as to where these lie in the actual pattern. But what's really cool, I'm going to hide the chart for now, is what you can do is you're like, okay, well, I want to see what this token is. Okay, so that one's S3. That's the only one that shows up. What's the exception? Okay, I can see that there's only that one exception. That's this S3 exception. Which users are not authorized? Okay, great. So out of those logs, these are the specific users or roles that are not authorized to perform this action, right? What resource is it on? Oh, it's only on this one resource. Cool. I know what that resource is. I can go take a look at any policies that we have related to that, right? And you can start to kind of dive deeper very easily. So, think of if you had thousands of records. If you identified that, hey, there is that one thing that's unauthorized, you can look at the specific tokens related to that or what the resource is and identify that very easily. Additionally, there's related patterns. So related patterns are other events that are occurring around the same time that these happened. What's really useful here is, let's say that you identified this isn't the culprit, right? I'm going to select a different one just for random and demo. But what you can do here is if you select another pattern that looks like it might be related, you can click this add related pattern to query. And if you just noticed, it added a very long pattern that matches this. And what we can do is we can run a query that's then going to query specifically on that log. And we can start diving into just the 86 logs we think that might be impacted or might be the cause. So now we've really streamlined from those thousands of records we had to just a few that could potentially be the issue. One other thing we have is the anomaly detection that we talked about before. I'm going to show that as well. And so let's go to log groups. And I am going to go to ECS pet search. Okay. All right, so I'm going to go in my monitoring account, which is the account I'm in. We'll go here. All right, and then I am going to go to anomaly detection. So from here, if you have anomaly detection enabled on your log group, it's going to look for things that are anomalies. That doesn't look like standard behavior. I don't have any going on currently, but I do have 13 that started greater than an hour ago. And this is the same thing where you can start to get an idea of what that trend of anomaly is. This looks very much like things might have been processing well, and then all of a sudden we see a big increase of this, right? And then you could do the same type of thing. I found this anomaly. You can choose to alert based on this anomaly, and you can go back into the pattern inspection and trying to dive deeper here as well. So that kind of completes the circle for the anomaly detection and patterns. The other functionality that was mentioned was LiveTail. So let's say that you have an occasional report of a page not loading, right? And you know that it's related to your add visit service. And so I am going to go ahead and select this. We'll take it. We'll go ahead and load that and wait for the LiveTail to kick off. And then we're going to try to find where there's some errors or some sort of problems in this application. This is just going to take about 30 seconds or so to get going, just because this log isn't generating logs every second, but it should pop up here very soon. All right, so we have some logs. Okay, so when I look at these logs, if I expand this, these are unstructured. It's just like a line of text. But let me see what I could find. So I don't really know what's in here. Let me look for some error. Let me see if there's anything matching errors. Okay, I found two things. I found two things that match errors. If you notice, there's this red bar that got created based on this highlight. So I can go here And I could see, oh, canary error. Oh, it's probably not related to canaries, but I can see exactly where errors are. It brings my eyes to that. Maybe this one? No, it's not this timeout error. This isn't specifically it. I want to also check. Let's see if I can check for fail. Whoops. For fail, just the word fail, and see what else pops up. Okay, there's a few more things. See, is there anything else? Right. So I don't think it's this info request. All right. Well, I also know that they said they were having some issues related to some images. And I know we store our images on S3. So let me see if I can put in S3. Okay, cool. I found this one. Okay, so we have an error. Unable to fetch S3 bucket location. Oh, maybe this is my problem, right? I knew a little bit about that, how the application worked. I thought of some things that could kind of tie it together. And now this is kind of drawing my eyes into what could be the specific logs. And this looks like this could be it, right? Unable to fetch this bucket. It shows this here, right? This role, this identity is not authorized to perform the get bucket location, right? All right, so let me go ahead and fix that and see if that fixes the problem, right? So that was an easy way to just use a few terms if you're not really sure, but maybe you have a little insight on your application on, how you could find what the problem is. So next, what I want to show you is I want to show you how this would work for a structured log and how we can filter down by very specific fields for that. So I'm going to go ahead and select this one. Something you may notice is I have two of these. These are in different accounts. This is my centralized cross-account monitoring server. This is my monitoring account, and this is a secondary account. So I'm going to go ahead and use this. I'm going to apply some filters and let that start rolling in. All right, so we have some logs faster here. Great. Okay, so, here's a container pet site. That's great. Pet history, there's another container. And then OTC container. Okay. Well, someone reached out to me and they said our pet site was having some issues. I know that workload runs within the containers that are on pet site. So what I'm going to do is I want to filter to only logs that specifically are for container pet site. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and do $. And then looking at this, I'm just breaking it down by the structured log. Let's go by Kubernetes from there. And then I only want where container name equals, and then I'm going to say it's pet site. Let's see if I pull that back up. I think it was right here. Pet site. I copy and paste so that I don't mistype it. We do that. Go ahead and apply the filter. Oh, let's check what I did. Oh, that'll do it. Can't do a double quote and a single quote to close it out. All right, so now I'm only getting the logs related to pet site. And I will be able to start doing the same type of filters to see other information. Like this has UDP, same type of thing, right? You can start filtering based on different terms that you have, and you can find very easily through your logs where those terms are met. Right, so that's an example of how you can filter by structured logging, which can make it much easier if you have those structured logs to filter based on a specific field that would be more impactful for your workloads. Okay. All right, so log insights. So I wanted to show you another thing. Abitha mentioned that we have integrations with OpenSearch. So we have different integrations with VPC flow logs, these vended logs, CloudTrail, and WAF logs. Example of that, we have CloudTrail logs. This is going to start loading the data. Just give it a second to load. All right, so I have a lot of different event counts. Still loading everything. All right, and then I have some filtering fields. So I can see kind of events over time, some high-level events by account ID, categories, regions. That's great, but I really need to filter this down. So I only want to look at, just making sure that we're aligned, 724. Let's look at 724. Okay, I want to look at 724. I want to look at US East 1. Okay, event categories, management, and then services. Let's just look at S3 again. Okay, let's see what that looks like. Then I can apply those changes. So as you can see, it filtered down and updated the fields here. You can start to kind of dive deeper, see what specific APIs have been running, right? Get more information and what IPs are specifically accessing or running those APIs. Down here, you can see the top 10 users generating events. So this can really help you get an idea of who's doing what and at what scale, just very easily. All you have to do is point, when you create a new dashboard, is point it to your CloudTrail logs. Let's take a look at VPC flow logs. So it's just refreshing. And while that's loading, so you can see when it was synchronized last, you can see what flow logs you're specifically mapping to. And you can just see that I have a description on this dashboard. It says VPC flow logs. Something that may be useful as well for all of these, whether in CloudWatch, because we're in Log Insights, you can also change between local time zone and UTC. So if you standardize on UTC log time for how you're troubleshooting and collaborating to understand when an issue happens, UTC time zone might make it easy if you have a globally dispersed team to track down and identify issues. All right, filters. So source address. We have the same type of filters, right? Just related to the VPC flow logs. You can see the total flows by action, top talkers, see what those IPs are, what they're doing. You can see how many by the heat map. You can see where these things map to. Just gives you a good idea that like, hey, this one is really busy, and you can kind of see where they're going, and just some additional other information. All right, got a little bit more time. So what I'm going to do, I am going to jump into where are we going? Log Insights, and we're going to look at some data protection.
So
Actually,
even
before
Joe,
go
before
ahead.
we do that, I think there is a very detailed question that Michael is,
Oh, okay.
which might need a more involved discussion
Yeah.
instead of a reply via chat. So many times I go to a log group from a Lambda, for example. I filter for an error, for example. It then shows all the events with error. But now that I have located an event with error, how do I see the events before and after that event? Or in other words, you want to see the context that happened before or after the error occurred. Is there a way to do it?
Yeah. So I feel like in relation to that, Michael, is that if you wanted to identify what's before and after and potentially related to it, there's a couple ways to do that. Let me go. Whoops. I clicked on the wrong thing. Log Insights. Here we go. So either if you found where the error was, you could choose to set a custom value here. So like, let's say that it was today, right? And once you identified when the log occurred, you could just set it like, within the hour from what it is, and only look at what that specific timing was. So if you set it in the middle, then you can get all logs related to it there. You could add specific filters to your field to look for, if you're looking for errors or you're looking for very specific context that's related to it, you could do it that way. If you did have a pattern to match, right? If you set this time and you match that pattern, you could use the relational field that we showed before, where there's like the related log events, and see other events that are occurring that may be similar. The patterns will help you see if there are similarities right within that time frame of events that are occurring. It might trim it down so you're not just looking at a massive amount of logs that maybe some of them are very similar, but identifying the very specific logs, how often they happen, and then being able to identify the differences and which could potentially be impacting. Did that help, Michael? I'm just looking at the chat. Yes, awesome. And if you have any questions, I know Michael, so if you have any questions about it, feel free to ping me as well. Okay. All right, so I am going to go back to the data protection. So let's do this. Let's go to log groups. Okay, and so we have data protection, which I'm going to look at this log generation data protection field. from here, within data, you can choose to protect specific data, PII, or other information that's like common credit card numbers, addresses, things like that. I'm going to go ahead and edit this policy. And so you could see it's pretty simple to just create the specific like managed data identifiers or add them. We have address, AWS secret keys, banking accounts, banking account numbers by different countries because those are different, all kinds of different information. I won't go through all of these, but just very common patterns to match against. You can also choose that any time that you've identified one, you can send some additional information about that finding to CloudWatch logs or Amazon Data Firehose or S3, just so that you know where it came from and what it was. So going back to that, so from here, I want to take a look at the information and see, that the fields are masked. One thing to keep in mind with this is for the data protection, it takes effect once you've configured it. So any logs that are ingested after you've configured the data protection, that's what's going to be masked. Anything previous will not be masked. So I'm going to go back to log insights because this is where I'm going to view it. I have a couple of queries specifically related to this that I'm going to run. And so let's do that. I have my data protection. I have a masked sample where I'm looking at that log generation data protection log we were at. Okay, so that ran. And so if I look at this top one, you'll see social security number is start out, right? It's start out, we can't see it. If I have permissions, what I can do is I can run an unmask query. So if I have the permissions to run unmask, I can unmask it specifically from the message and only from the message. That's where I can unmask it. So if I run that and I take a look here, what you'll see is, and these are fake social security numbers. This is all just synthetic data, but you'll see that I can now see the social security number and the actual SSN, the field that's related to this is still masked, but in the message right here, as we see at message, that has become unmasked so that you could view it and get that information if you needed it. Okay. I think so. So for me, I think that about wraps up the demo of the features that I wanted to run through today and some possible, scenarios of when you might want to use these.
Terrific. Great job, Joe. And thank you, Abitha and Joe, for your efforts with the demo, as well as the presentation. Just to tie it off, what we have here are some final resources ranging from hands-on workshops as well as online documentation. And these are great materials to help you get up and running with CloudWatch logs for your day-to-day operations today. So feel free to take these QR codes, and I'll take you to the link where you can get access to these resources. So with that in mind, thank you for your time, everyone. Thank you for reviewing this session and for watching this video. Feel free to reach out to your AWS contact if you have any more questions around observability with cloud-native AWS tools. Have a great week, and we'll see you next time.